moving on to 2002 and the 50th anniversary of the charity, how was that occasion marked?
For the 50th anniversary, we'd had some initial discussions about how we would mark the 50th anniversary, and it was decided that we wanted to write a history. And initially it was thought that we're going to write something that was sort of based on the annual reports and minutes and things like that. But my background from when I started at Scope was in oral history. I've always regarded that people talking about history was more interesting, but also gave a different perspective on what you got in sort of documentary history. So I got together with a disabled journalist, Chris Davis, who worked on Disability Now, and we persuaded Scope that the best way would be for us to do an oral history of Scope. And so we interviewed 17 individuals for that. All the interviews are in the British Library Sound Archive, but the book that Chris wrote was very much his personal perspective, because he'd started in one of Scope's schools. He'd then gone on to work for Scope as a press officer for a while, and then gone off to be a chief executive for a couple of disability charities. And he came back to Scope to work as to be a trustee. So he'd sort of been at Scope throughout his life, and it'd be a big part of his life. And he had his criticisms of the organisation, so it's by no means a sort of PR job. And he interviewed people, a range of people. And one of the things that we tried to do is make sure that quite a lot of the people he interviewed were disabled people, because often they were the people that were being left out of some of the minutes in documentary history. So we wanted to try and redress that balance. And I think that was interesting. One of the things that was also interesting was that Chris had come across Bill Hargreaves when he was at school, but for him, Bill Hargreaves was this guy that came along to the school and did his ventriloquism, which was something he did. He entertained the troops and wow, did his ventriloquism. And he had no idea of the role that Bill had really played in the organisation. And when I said to Chris, I think you should have interviewed Bill Hargreaves, he was quite reluctant. I could tell he wasn't keen on the idea at all. But it was really interesting when Chris did talk to Bill, and suddenly his eyes were open to all the things that Bill had done in employment and leisure and travel and just campaigning. One of the things that somebody said to Bill's parents when he was growing up was that he would never walk or work or wed. And when he went to Buckingham Palace with his wife to receive his MBE, I think he probably had proven that person wrong. But that was the sort of his story, and it was great for Chris to be able to hear that, and then also to then share it in his book, Changing Society.
Yeah, and it is worth noting that book that you just mentioned there, Changing Society, and a book about the life of Bill Hargreaves can both be purchased from Amazon as well. And I'll include the link to those in the description, but I imagine you'd say definitely worth a read.
Well, yeah, I mean, they're actually sort of available sort of secondhand, but they are on Amazon. And but if people want to contact us via Scope, we certainly, we've still got some copies. Bill Hargreaves' book is available on Kindle. There aren't any hard copies really left, but the Changing Society paperback, if people want to get in touch with me, then I'm happy to post them out to people.